Well, then we will simply pick back up where we left off. Or I should say, for the first episode of Isaiah's journey into the afterlife, into the Duat, beginning from the other side of the sea in Salia. Isaiah found himself propelled into the air, landing face first into the sand, followed not too shortly by the arch-lich known as Septimetrion Enelok. Isaiah found himself in the afterlife, but found no end to his false life, in a way.
No, what he found was a continuation of sorts. One in which where he thought his mission was complete, and yet he was still conscious, and one in which Enelok was still alive, and the mission was not done. So what he did is what any rational man would do. And by rational I mean mostly Skelliles, try to kill Enelok. I took his dagger, I threw it into the tear that led back to the normal non-afterlife realm, and proceeded to try to take out Enelok's jewel-encrusted eyes with little to no success, and only annoying Enelok to the point where he did almost murder me. But he exercised a level of restraint, because Enelok in doing so realized that he would be alone, sad, isolated, and knowing that that was his status quo prior to the events of his reawakening in Salia, he just didn't want to return back to that. So he decided to, in some capacity, keep Isaiah as his pet, but knowing that he wasn't at full physical strength, he just kind of let Isaiah drag him throughout the afterlife sands, and it proceeded on for what seemed to be days. It got to the point where Isaiah felt some levels of exhaustion, and it got to the point where even Enelok was dragging Isaiah through the sands. They spoke about a multitude of topics. One being how Enelok should consider getting over his his anger towards Skelliles, and getting over that somewhat irrational hatred, especially towards an entity that is his closest thing to family that he's encountered in a while. Something that Isaiah doesn't necessarily get a luxury to enjoy. Other stuff we covered was Isaiah's isolation, his how lonely Isaiah has felt despite being in a group, how difficult it's been for him at times, and how he's just been kind of waiting for his mission to be fulfilled so that he could finally be released into what he had originally anticipated to be the actual afterlife. It gets nihilistic. It definitely got nihilistic, to the point in which, if you could picture it, Enelok exercised a level of sympathy. Ray, if you want to just speak on Enelok's experience of the conversations that were had throughout the wastes.
Whatever remnants that may lie within the being that is Enelok, that was once the human mage that became an archlich, seem to leak out in the idea of someone else suffering the loneliness that he felt from his very dire isolation inside of the mountain of Romy's Hill. During the journey, an unknown amount of time had passed, and Enelok had warned Isaiah that he would become alone eventually, as Enelok would be unable to feed upon souls inside of the Duat, not only just due to the lack of souls in general, but due to the fact that such a ritual requires certain instruments in order for a lich to feed. So inevitable was his fall back into Demi-Lich, and then back into the inert state he was once left in for centuries. Isaiah pressed on, eventually finding himself to the sea in the afterlife. And knowing that Jabbaxi lay to the southwest on the other side of it, Isaiah did the one thing that he did the first time he made this journey and hopped in, hoping to walk alongside the bottom of the waterbed itself. He was no longer weighed down by equipment, only by his experience in Celia, which proved not to be enough to keep him from floating. And float he did! Float he did.
It was brutal.
And in that brutal journey, he ended up finding himself into the eye of a storm that took its toll, tossed him around, showed him what was what and why the sea is meant to be feared in the first place. It wasn't long until, laying there, Isaiah bumped his head on the side of a boat, discovering someone very weakened, himself, to be aboard this small skiff. Unable to identify anything about the boat other than being nearly shipwrecked itself, Isaiah called out for help, and after a short search, someone pulled the body on board. The details of this individual are limited at the time. And it wasn't until they finally made it to the shores of Jabbaxi where it was revealed that it was a blind, apostate of the god of seas, storms, and mystery, Ati, known as Hatanzi. From that point on, Hatanzi and Isaiah had a short confession and explanation of each other's goals. Isaiah obviously wishing to return to Jabbaxi to find, what would you say he was trying to find, Patrick?
Um, I would say he would be trying to find a resolution of any sort. Whether that means his end, whether that means his redemption. It was realizing that even in the afterlife, even with, alone with a arch lich, that he still couldn't overcome that panging shame that resides deep within him, where his scar rested it in. And so that was his purpose. He wanted to find something or someone on the other side of that sea that could help him become whole in some sense. Or if he could not find wholeness, he could at least find some sort of end. And Hatanzi was grateful enough to allow this floating corpse on her ship. Um, and so she took Isaiah in, and Isaiah, after a short resting period, because he had to give way to the storm that was going on in the sea. He had to recuperate to some extent, and upon waking up, he had realized that they had broached the land that was the other side of the sea, and it was presumed to be Jabaxi. Once there, Hatanzi and Isaiah had to reconcile what their desires were, why they were there, what they hoped to accomplish, what they wanted to find. And despite them having two different goals, they both actually shared very similar paths and decided to embark on this journey together because Hatanzi's goal seemed to be a little bit more long term and Isaiah be in the short term. And I believe it's at this point we discover that Hatanzi, the apostate, is unable to see. And so, in this sense, Isaiah is her guide throughout the desert, and she yields to his sense of direction because not only can he physically see, but he has also lived in Jabaxi and can therefore aid in her mission. So his mission takes him in the direction of where he feels his shame to be. His mindset was dead set on addressing the source. And he was going to walk across the entire desert to do so, even with Hatanzi at his side as a potential liability. And so he carried forth through the day and even through the night. What they found at night was something that Isaiah at the time and Hatanzi could not discern. It was big bright lights off into the distance. Isaiah not being totally sure of where they were, but knowing that they were not near the capital of Jabaxi, decided to hide within the sands themselves. In doing so, the lanterns that they were once in the distance came closer, and Isaiah felt the coldness start to take over the desert, but not because of the weather itself, but because of the individuals that were crossing. And those individuals that were crossing was indeed a pack of jackals among other individuals. They thankfully did not detect Isaiah, and they did not detect Hatanzi either, but proceeded with their scouting mission to wherever they were heading, which was not seemingly clear. And after about 20 minutes or so, we continued forward with our mission through the desert to the source of Isaiah's shame. And Ray, you can recap any potential details I may have left out or forgotten up until that point.
I will say, you covered enough. Upon continuing with the journey towards what he felt to be his shame, Isaiah, after a certain amount of time, what seemed like days within the Duat on the homeland of the Jabaxi, came across this feeling. Long did he journey away from this shame, beginning his journey, in a sense, from this point in time. Isaiah returns, and upon hesitating to take the final step, he found it within himself to do so. And his awareness was propelled in multiple different directions to very pivotal beings in his life at the same exact time. To the far west was the betrayer god, the kinslayer, the god of murder, lies, and almost everything horribly cruel in Jabaxi, Set, sitting in his realm, upon his throne, holding his glaive in one hand. Elongated was the fur upon his neck and back, and cleaved were the elaborate-looking light robes from his battle with Horus, untold eons ago. Still he wears them in his true form. Set was greatly displeased with the return of Isaiah, voicing his concern with vile threat and bite. Against who? We will see. We will see. To the northwest, the first patron and the head of the pantheon. In a way, the hopefully soon-to-be kinslayer, Horus. The god of most things good, strength, warriors, sharing the title of god of war with many other deities in Jabaxi, stared from the black pyramids of Jabaxi at the top with his singular eye and couldn't help but smirk that Isaiah had finally returned. Almost doubting him, and couldn't be ever more pleased that he was wrong. And far below the sands lay the dead god, newly finding a new life in undeath and claiming what would be the underworld of Jabaxi in the Duat for himself. Osiris had to come to terms with very quickly that Isaiah had not only returned, but he seemed to be coming to terms with his greatest mistake, and also couldn't help but feel that he was glad to be wrong. And to the south, the one who never doubted him, Iset, flying through the sky, divine and mage-like, flying with her son, the demigod Aquila, laying eyes or awareness upon Jabaxi's favorite son, Isaiah, returning to his homeland to reclaim what is his. Iset told both her husband and son to suck it and pay up.
She did say that. That's a quote.
Aquila, being unaware, just stared off at his mother quizzically. But Isaiah, the only question remains is, what are you going to do?
Can I get an emotions check to see how I feel?
You want to roll an insight check upon yourself?
Yeah, I need
Because you
to
can do
I
that.
need to do that. And also, I failed during this entire time to actually bring up my character sheet, so I
Oof.
will be accountable for my flaws. Um, and so I will roll my insight check. First roll, natural 5 for a +5 for a 10.
All right. And that's your insight check?
Yep.
Would you please roll me a deception check?
Mm.
Which I have a feeling will be far better, unfortunately for you.
A natural 20 for a 23.
You are a hard case to crack, and you will not be the one to crack it.
I don't know how I feel.
No, you do not.
Why do I feel like this? I don't know.
Isaiah, I will say this. As you have taken your first step into reclamation, and despite your very low roll against your very powerful natural deception, you will notice something that is quite different.
Okay, what do I? Is it a phys? Is like okay? What do I notice?
Maybe not so much in the physical sense, but in the emotional sense, Isaiah, you feel everything again. And you feel anxious. You feel excited and courageous. It's kind of mind boggling. You, when you had been brought back into the form that you were, in comparison to Osiris, everything that you had felt was almost an illusion. It was almost programming placed there by Osiris and Horus. And you were aware of its influence. But you feel like right now, at this moment in time, and you don't know if it happened the moment you came through the Duat, or if it was after the storm, or if it was right now, but you feel a full range of emotion that you have not felt in a long time.
Then can I make a general perception check of what I see around me?
Make a perception check.
Another natural 20 for a 21.
All right. All right. With a nat 20 for these past two rolls, you're rolling hot. Let's hope it keeps up. You take in your surroundings around you. You know this place to be very unholy in a sense. In the ground, there is a remarkable amount of red tainted sand in very specific positions where you saw the bodies of your friends lay. You see something that is hidden. With a natural 20 perception check, digging in to the ground, you see a glaive.
Do I know who this glaive belongs to or its affiliations? Because obviously I know that several gods use a glaive of sorts.
Digging in and taking it. Do you pick up the glaive? I should ask first.
I will pick up the glaive.
It is a larger weapon, two-handed, and you do know that Horus and Set both wield one respectively in one hand because they're built that way.
Different, you would say.
Quite. You look upon it, it is so familiar to you. But for some reason, the knowledge has been taken from you, you feel, of who it actually belonged to.
Even if I make a history check?
If you roll another nat 20, you'll know who it is.
Okay, alright. Okay, okay. It's a 3.
Despite your ever-increasing try, someone has taken this knowledge from you.
Then, in that case, I will just... I mean, I will keep the glaive because there's a chance that I can come across jackals again, and I cannot have Hatanzi carrying my weight. So I will take it, and I will return I will return to Hatanzi from the point of where I entered this little otherworldly space.
She has taken it upon herself not to enter this seemingly important ground to you. Almost feeling you could say maybe a internal feeling not to do so. Almost as if it's too holy. And she's just sitting crisscross applesauce in the sand, picking it up and letting it drop out of her hand freely.
I would look at Hatanzi and I would say, at this current time, there's nothing more that I need here. We may proceed towards the capital of Jabaxi.
She will right herself up, sand herself off. Isaiah of Jabaxi picks up her trident. What is the capital of Jabaxi?
I know Isaiah knows, but Patrick, the player, forgot what he wrote to be the capital of Jabaxi. If you want, I can pull up his backstory and see if I can find it quick, but...
I will allow you to do so, mostly because my mouse is having very large trouble to do anything, so I'm going to recalibrate this thing.
Okay. Yes, Hatanzi. We will be journeying our way to the capital city of Jabaxi, Pharos. And I'll point in the general direction of where it is, which I believe will be relative to where we are, a little bit to the northeast. If I am correct in my understanding of where we are now. I mean, you can check me on that, but I believe that's where we are going.
What do you point with?
I point with my finger, my hand.
Okay. No response.
That is a good point. I will guide her trident in the direction of northeast.
Perfect. She is mobilized. If you point with the glaive, she might feel the difference in the air.
Yeah.
However, a finger, that's a different story altogether.
Isaiah is working on how to be more accommodating, more accessible in the way that he communicates to the disabled.
Yeah, it's a learning curve for sure.
He hasn't, he just got his emotions back. What do you want him to do, So...
He does feel a little bit of embarrassment from that moment in time.
Yeah, he may blush. He may be like, "Why did I even get these back? I feel like an idiot now."
But she'll have no idea, so it's fine.
There we go. There we go. And so we will proceed again through the desert wastes.
All right. I would love Isaiah to roll a survival check.
A natural 2 for a 3.
Isaiah, things are very different in the Duat compared to the material realm of Jabaxi. There are some similarities for sure, absolutely, but the differences are there. You will find that out very quickly. As you're passing through the desert,
Just to clarify, we are in material Jabaxi or we are in the Duat of Jabaxi?
oh, you are in the Duat of
Okay.
Jabaxi.
Okay. Just to clarify for our audio listeners and myself, but also the audio listeners. Continue.
The differences lie obviously in the quality of sand. While you do not feel the sparkling stones underneath your feet that combine with the sand of Jabaxi, which in itself was nearly golden white in nature, it almost seems like, due to the influence of certain individuals, when you look upon the blood-stained locations of your former comrades, you see the markings of Set. Marked with the blood of your allies is red sand. At night, the sand sparkles multiple different colors depending on the territory that you are within. You are so close to what seems to be a border between Horus and Set that you are walking upon what seems to be blackish red sands and black, if not grayish gold. You come
Very
across
interesting.
an impossibly large dune, and while climbing it, before you meet its peak, very suddenly and startlingly, you see the sun and the moon pass by almost 7 different times. With that change of temperature coming and going at such a rapid pace, you hear Hatanzi scream out, "What is happening?" As 1 minute her hands are being scorched upon the sun, and she suddenly is freezing cold, repeatedly. She begins to fall backwards
I
and lose
will
progress in the sand.
I will try to stop her from rolling down the dune.
I would like you to roll me a dex check then.
I shall do so. I shall do so. It will be. Oh my goodness. Is it a dexterity saving throw or is it just a check?
For now, it's just a check. It's not too dire,
Goodness gracious. Okay.
but I have a feeling it might be dire.
Yeah, it's a natural 6 for a 5.
As you grab onto Hatanzi, who begins to slide, and even you are taken aback at how strange time seems to be acting at this moment, you begin to slide ever so slightly with her, and you go down about 30 or so feet off of this 90-foot dune.
I would try to pull Hitanzi back up and say, the sun and the moon in the Duat is not obeying the typical cycles that you would find in the material realm typically. And so what you are experiencing right now are faster days and even much faster nights, leading to dramatic changes in temperature at any given moment. But alas, we still must press on up this dune. And if you need help, I can assist you.
She shirks your grip off for a moment. "This is my journey too, Isaiah. I will make this climb if I can." and she will attempt to climb again.
Can I offer her the help action?
You may offer her the help action.
What do I add? Any type of what do I add anything to my roll, or is it a flat roll?
You will be giving her advantage with the help action.
Okay, so yeah, you roll the 2 dice then.
A natural 19 and a 4.
Ooh.
Being able to deal with this change of temperature now with your explanation, she manages to scamper up, placing the grip of her trident between her teeth as she makes her way up this dune, with the tip of it being almost straight up and down steep. She manages to dig her way through about a 5-foot section from the top and begins to climb through as best she can. You make it up with very little difficulty, doing the same thing. You are him. This is your homeland. Your father taught you how to climb the dunes in the case that you were ever lost in the desert as a child. It's honestly exhilarating to be able to do it once again. And you know that the best part is yet to come. As you peak the dune, it's even taller on the other side. The only thing you're lacking, you feel, is something to slide down upon.
I ask Hatanzi to lay down. No, I'm kidding. Is it realistic or not realistic to try to surf down this dune on the trident?
I will say...
Because I don't know if it's a magical trident or not.
I will say... You look at the trident. It's the symbol of a foreign god.
Yeah.
And she is an apostate, which would insinuate some type of worship in the past. She catches herself from falling forward and puts an ear in your direction. You think it could work.
I'm gonna look towards Hatanzi, and I'm gonna guide the tip of the trident so that's pointing into the downward facing part of the dune, and I'm gonna say this decline extends for about 150 feet. Is that about right in that assessment? How steep is the dune?
From your angle, it's impossible to fully tell, but you want to say it's nearly 200 feet.
Okay.
You'd assume.
I would say, yeah, the dune is about 200 feet, and considering how tedious it was to get up here, I figured maybe if you would allow, and you're comfortable, we could ride the trident down the dune to the bottom, because it is about a 150 to 200 foot drop.
She almost has a quizzical look on her face. Ride the trident. You think this is possible?
Hatanzi, I literally died and was brought back by the gods, okay? The limits of what is possible have not been found yet.
Roll a persuasion check.
Sick McNasty. Watch that sick-ass speech to go to a nat 1.
Yep.
And just as I manifest it, it is a natural 1 for an 8.
You gotta be kidding me. Oh my god.
I hate these rolls!
She takes her trident from her right hand and puts it into her left. The chances of losing the trident within the sand is too great for me to bear.
Um, looking at my glaive, it doesn't look surfable, does it?
It's a bit larger than the trident, but it's a little beat up, faded. It's worth a shot. It's worth a shot.
For reference, I'm just gonna pull up what a large glaive looks like, so I can know. Oh, it is certainly something.
It is.
Um,
It's about as plausible as a trident. So you know.
you know what? Actually, when we were saying glaive, in my mind, I was picturing a flail. So I'm glad
Oh,
that this clarification came up. I've needed this. Because yes, it's different now. Yeah, I mean, F it. Let's just try to surf down this sand dune with the glaive.
I would like you to roll me an athletics check.
All right, athletics check. Here we come. That's a natural 16 for an 18.
That's not bad. Now here's my question: do you ask Hatanzi to get on?
Oh, yes, I will. I will say, Hatanzi, if you do not want to risk losing your trident, then let us both risk losing this glaive that I just found and make our lives easier because we still have a long ways left throughout the desert.
She nods in agreement,
And
and
I will guide her onto the glaive because I assume, yeah.
as you lay the glaive down in the sand and place your feet upon it, do you want the forward position or the backward position?
Um, I'll have the forward position because I imagine that if we were to like lose control or we need to break, her being in the back with her trident could be potentially used as a break.
That's good. As you take your position, you feel Hatanzi behind you, raising up her trident in the air to keep it from getting caught. All you need do is push yourself forward.
And I give myself a little kick and I will send my
And
way through.
and you take off faster than you ever expected, Isaiah. Suddenly the wind is in your hair. Her hood gets pushed back. She gets a face full and a mouthful full of dead Isaiah hair.
Hey
She's
yo.
screaming out loud, and you can't help but feel exhilarated at this level of speed.
I would go I would let out a little woo, like a little woo, something like that. You know, I would probably pump my fist because this is the first exciting thing I've done in
Yes.
a long time.
Yes.
And so
This
I'm pumped.
is
I'm pumped. Yeah, I'm stoked.
this is exciting. You are having a time. It's not just a straight shot down. You're doing
I'm
you're
carving.
surfing.
I'm
You're
carving.
surfing. Oh yeah, you're carving.
I got
Oh
some
yeah.
sick shreds.
I would
And
like you I would like you to roll me a performance check real quick.
oh my gosh. Say less. That is a natural 18 for a 21.
Oh my god, you're just tearing up the stands.
Oh yeah.
And the best part is you know Set's watching.
Oh, Seth's watching. Hatanzi's having a good time, and I'll say this: at the bare minimum, I am stimulated.
Hello. Hey, Sunny.
Are you taking Sunny upstairs?
I'm gonna leave him here. I'm gonna just run up and find my phone.
Okay. Okay. I'll watch Sunny.
Come here, Sunny. Come here. Okay, come here.
Okay, continue. I have a dog. Well, I don't have a dog, but there is a dog here.
Okay. Give him the mic. No.
Bark!
Let him speak. Let him roll a character. Roll up a character, buddy.
But yes, we are shredding, and Isaiah, like I said, is stimulated. How? Let the wild magic
glaive-
decide.
The glaive is guiding itself, it feels like. You are just giving the most minimal effort except for style in this situation, and you are in full control. As you look down, you notice the glaive itself is not striking the sand, but a force being generated is propelling the sand away from it. You don't know how this is possible.
Can I
But
make an
it's
Arcana
not-
check?
You may make an Arcana check.
So that is a natural 11 for a 15 total.
15 total.
Yep.
You feel as though an essence inside of the glaive, a remaining essence, felt like this was the correct thing to do.
Badass. Very badass. Okay. Then I will proceed down the dunes with my sick carves.
As you make it to the bottom of the hill, or I should say the dune, you're still propelled forward about 80 feet or so until your speed finally runs out. And you and Hatanzi are just sitting, or standing, you should say, upon a glaive in the sand. She's laughing, enjoying herself on this journey. And you couldn't help but feel that this truly was the first time you've had fun in Jabaxi, and probably the last time you've had it in years. Even before your training ended to
Wow.
become a Magi.
This is cool.
Because without the pressure of that upon you, you are, in a way, a sense, free.
That's beautiful. On the way down, because the dune was relatively tall, did I see Pharos in the distance, like a skyline of sorts?
You did not see Pharos in the distance, but as you come up upon what you see before you, you see what seems to be patches of oasis before what would be a blight field. But you realize there are no blight fields on this side of the desert. As the Duat is not leaking in from this side, it is leaking out.
So I could assume that this is the inverse, where the material realm is pouring over to the Duat?
Potentially.
Okay. Then I will proceed forward to the oasis with Hatanzi.
Moving forward to the oasis, you are able to make it there within about an hour's time of walking. Coming across it, it is lush with red and green plants strewn about, and the influence of Set seemingly left behind from this place. You
Okay.
see scarabs crawling all over the place.
Oh, can I make a nature check to see if there's anything in this oasis that is edible or drinkable?
It won't take you long to find water. Small as it is still there.
Do I know if this is drinkable or if this is all like a mirage of sorts, or if it's not drinkable due to any type of whatever substances, be it magical or physical?
Approaching, the water looks real. It sounds real. And that's part of the important part. You do know that illusions are very common in the desert. Whether it's just due to your own water deprivation and possible heat stroke, or just due to the natural magics of Jabaxi.
Okay.
You approach this water. Do you touch it?
I'll touch it.
You stick your hand in it? Seems very real. Looks very, very clean.
Then I will kind of like a little splash in the water, and I'll tell Hatanzi that, it's time for a water break.
She, the moment you stuck your hand in it, she heard the sound, and she started to approach.
Very cool.
She, feels for the water, placing her trident behind her, underfoot. She does proceed to drink the water itself. It is a almost elixir green in this realm. And even you feel the, maybe not need to drink it, but the desire to drink it as well.
I'm going to take a hit of that water. And do I see any potential edible stuff around, or is it all just water and sand?
Looking around, there does seem to be a number of fruit growing from the vegetation in this luscious environment. I would like you, however, to roll me a d6 as you drink the water from this spring.
I'll roll a d6 since that is what you asked. That is a 5.
You are invigorated when you ingest this water. From the moment it enters your mouth, even feeling it in your hand,
Hey, yo!
you are blessed with the blessing of Kepri. For how many did you roll?
A 5?
For 5 hours, you will be under the conditions of the bless spell.
Very sick.
Kepri, the god of rebirth, has blessed you.
Yeah, that's badass. Let me see here. Just pulling up the bless spell so I can see it.
I believe you will add a d4 to saving throws and attacks, but not ability checks, from what I know.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay. Then I will also eat the fruit as long as it doesn't look like the fruit at the top of Romy's Hill.
Nothing looks like those fruit.
Okay. Okay, good. Then I will eat the fruit. Nom nom nom.
Eating the fruit, it's very good. Very juicy. The seeds themselves are edible. You do find what seems to be mostly what would be described as a durian fruit, without the horrible stench that applies to that particular fruit as well. You may take time to proceed to look that up if you wish, but they're rather hard to get to fruit in terms of their internal edible parts, but do hold a lot of fruit inside as well.
Yeah, they're like meaner cantaloupe, right?
They are,
Yeah.
and they hide many secrets.
Damn. What's in your durians, bro? Um, I will proceed to eat the durian and offer Hatanzi her own durian.
She will take it in stride, but struggles with opening the fruit itself. She will utilize her trident to get what she can.
Um, okay. I mean, I could probably just use my glaive and just fruit ninja the shit and cut it open.
I will say it's easily done if you wish to do that.
I will do this. Yeah, figure out that leash. Cut it open. I'll offer it to Atanzi.
To eat by choice is far different than eating by necessity.
Yes. Yeah.
Somewhat of an enjoyment that only the gods can perform, sometimes.
Um. Very cool. Ray, can we take a little baby break so I can use the restroom and get a little snack?
We shall reconvene.
Okay. We will reconvene.
Alright. Taking your short amount of time to enjoy this oasis discovered to you, or by you, Isaiah, you find yourself both in a familiar place but also lost. You're unable to place yourself in distance to Pharos, but you have a good idea of the direction to go in. You have found yourself a boon in this desert, but who knows what detriments might lie ahead.
I suppose, regardless, I must carry on. And so
I would like you to roll me another survival check.
Do I? Let me know what you think about this. Do I technically get?
You can make a case for anything. Let me know.
Yeah, I want to make the case that because I'm doing this with Hatanzi, and Hatanzi is kind of in this with me, we are codependent on each other in certain respects, that I may have advantage because she may help me with any survival-related check.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll a d20. And if she gets above a 15 on a flat roll, she can give you advantage.
Okay.
That's a 16.
Oh, baby! Okay. I will roll.
Hatanzi is guided by a purpose. She doesn't know what's guiding her, but she has a good idea of what direction to go in innately. And she might not know that, but you notice in the way that she moves.
With her, despite her lack of familiarity with the desert and her seemingly, you know, difficult condition in which it would be hard to survive a barren desert with, Hatanzi knows so much of the basics with, basically fundamentals of survival that doesn't really take into regard the biome that she may reside in. That her helping Isaiah just kind of comes natural to her, and in that respect, I rolled a natural 19 for a dirty 20.
Very nice. Your journey through the desert proceeds, And you notice something, Isaiah. As you leave the oases in the surrounding area, the scarabs of Kefri are busy in their work. Grisly is the work, sometimes, for divine creatures and natural creatures alike. You see, from the desert floor, these scarabs dig up bodies and proceed to drag them in the direction of whatever oasis might be closest, and proceed to bury them underneath. Many of these bodies are barren and unremarkable, decrepit in a way that it's hard to describe what they once were and what they look like, besides the fact that most of them seem to be humanoid. Others of them seem to be large scorpions, jackals of some sorts, and impossibly large birds. All brought to the oasis in what you can only imagine to be cultivated and reborn.
Interesting.
Nonetheless, Hatanzi does not take notice. Very dead set on moving forward with you.
Why did you say
hand.
set? No, I'm just kidding.
Because he's here.
Yes, I will continue. I will make mental note of the Kefri corpse digging, but we'll still continue on towards the direction of Pharaoh's.
Proceed you do. Isaiah. Traveling for what seems to be 5 hours. The sun sets. A familiar cold is beset upon Hatanzi. In natural order. She presses forward, despite her obvious fatigue. And this night lasts for what seems to be 2 whole days. You and Hatanzi moving forward, pushing forward as hard as you can. I'm going to make a series of rolls, constitution checks, to see if she can keep up with you. She passes with a natural 12 on the die,
Okay.
but it raises the DC for every single day she goes without rest. The second day is another natural 12. She gains 1 point of exhaustion. And the third day, a nat 1.
Yikers in the chat.
You look upon Hatanzi struggling greatly.
Can I make a general perception check of what's around me?
In the dead of night, you may make the check with disadvantage. If you're looking far,
Well, I don't think the second roll will matter, but okay, yeah. So that'll be a natural 2 for a 3.
You came across what seemed to be abandoned garrisons from the armies of Jabaxi. Not necessarily Magi, but checkpoints, you could say, that would travel through the desert itself. And Hatanzi is lagging behind incredibly. You are unable to discern anything necessarily within this darkness, as your senses seem to be dulled by what doesn't seem to be just your lack of ability to navigate in the dark, but possible interference from a certain individual that might have it out for you.
Um, I don't know if Isaiah didn't not notice in the days prior of Hatanzi's exhaustion or her state of being, but regardless if he noticed or not noticed, he notices now, and
At this point, you are leaving her behind in terms of how fast you travel compared to her.
oh no, yeah, no, I will be sticking with her and trying to make sure that we stick together as a unit, and I think I will attempt to carry her onward until I find the next garrison or checkpoint.
All right. I would like you to roll me a D100, if you'd be so kind.
I will do
Let's
it. So
spice things up.
I will do so. Let's see here. This is gonna be a 54.
54, nearly in the middle. That makes things very simple. Isaiah, looking for the nearest possible checkpoint, you were able to almost innately know its distance in terms of miles. Each of them was about 15 miles away from each other, which would be quite the distance for any mortal being to make. As you know, the Magi and the Jabaxi army typically work in shifts and don't patrol each checkpoint themselves within the day, typically working in the form of a relay. This long night that has lasted for many days has led you to assume that the next checkpoint has to be within this next 2 miles or so. Pressing forward, your foot hits something very solid in the sand.
Can I make a perception check?
Make
or an
your
investigation?
Oh, you can roll investigation or perception, your choice.
It'll be investigation. I am much better. It's a natural 15 for a 19.
19. You hit something very hard and made of stone. Upon investigating it, you find this is a structure. And it seems to be mostly buried.
Is it the Forbidden Library from Avatar?
What do you seek? Says the owl.
Oh. I need to defeat the Fire Nation. Let's see here.
Give Momo a gun, said the owl. And he'll take care of it.
Um, I will investigate or attempt to do a B&E, as they say. I'm going to try to get in here.
You, with such a high roll, I will say that feeling this position that's here, you quickly come across what seems to be a buried, preserved structure of stone within the sand. And lucky that it was in the sand, not to be worn away by the winds. It doesn't take you long before you find what seems to be an entrance. However, it is an entrance from what seems to be the top of this structure, which does have what seems to be maybe a 15 to 20 foot drop inside. So you have a choice.
Can I investigate based on looking in if there are other entrances?
Looking inside, roll me another perception check. I will say it is pitch black, and your dark vision is giving you a bonus here.
Yikes. Natural 4 for a 5.
The darkness is staggering. You can't seem to make out any type of other entrance, but you do see what seems to be inside of this open chamber that you're looking into, that this was a window, almost like a roof window to this structure itself. You see similar windows to it that are long buried underneath sand, with sand pouring inside of it. Digging your way into them would take probably the better part of another day. And if not a whole day in itself, since you don't have anything to really remove sand reliably. You do, however, see within this window that you have dug in what seems to be a large amount of sand underneath. And with a proper dex check, you could possibly make a safer landing for yourself.
That's the thing, is that I don't know if I even get in, if I can make it back out.
That is the thing.
I think. Do I know? Can I make a history check to see if I know what this structure was used for?
Make a history check.
Natural 8 for an 8.
Natural 8. Looking inside, it's very temple-esque. The easiest thing you can tell is that there are censers and a ritual table for worship, and that's all you can tell.
I think. I think I will. I'll probably. That's the thing. The FOMO in me is like, just jump in, just do it, just go. But the logic in my brain is like, does it really matter? And I just don't know. I think I will skip out and proceed to carry Hatanzi forward until I find a checkpoint that is above ground, a structure that I don't have to yeet myself into.
All right. Moving forward, you travel, and Hatanzi has seemingly fallen asleep in the time that you have left her on the ground from when you were carrying her to not carrying her. She is alive. It is fully aware to you. But it won't take you long. You travel for about another half hour before you find an outpost.
Okay. Then I will proceed to go to the outpost and take my own formal rest, as well as probably allow Hatanzi to have a quality rest.
I would like you to perform me a perception check.
I will take a perception check. Natural 2 for a 3.
You do feel this subtle, very tiny presence of a divine form of worship in this outpost. As for which god it is, you cannot tell.
I think feeling a divine presence in the Duat is like saying, "Hey, I felt the water when it was raining," and I think I would still just continue to try to take a rest of sorts, and make sure that it's like in not only proper shelter, like a sheltered area, but also an area that where we can kind of relatively hide if there were to be jackals patrolling again.
That is fair. You are inside what is essentially a limestone building. The interesting thing here is that as you open the door, Isaiah, to this building, and you bring Hatanzi inside, you go to close it, and the door is already shut before you can reach your hand out. Inside is what you would expect from anything. Weapons racks, maps, a couple of bunks, and rations.
I will partake in some rations, but then yeah, shortly after I will partake in a well, actually I'd take first watch so that Hatanzi can actually get a formal rest, and then I will take my actual long rest.
All right. You take your first watch. The night persists on. Distantly, you see light. Almost upon the horizon, and it stays there, hovering.
Is it the sun or is it a different type of light?
It's seemingly green in color.
Is it
But it's,
approaching my direction?
I should say it's upon the horizon. It doesn't
Okay.
seem to be moving. Just simply in the direction of the east.
I will check on it occasionally, but I'm not paying it the most mind.
Fair. Periodically throughout the night that you take your rest, you will see it in the distance, but it doesn't move. The feeling you get from it is as if maybe Salia, the presence of it is still closer than you thought. How do you treat Hatanzi in her sleeping state? Do you place her upon a bunk?
I treat her well, Ray. I treat her with respect.
Okay.
I treat her.
So you cover her in a blanket.
Yeah, a little banky. Yeah, the the rounds. Yeah, she's in a good situation.
All right. As you get up from your position to check at the window, you look back at the spot you've been inhabiting, I assume near another window, and constantly patrolling those from time to time. Maybe even going up upon the roof below the thatch hut, or a thatch roof that allows you a full 360 degrees view. You go back to your spot, Isaiah, and your ration containers are gone.
Who's taking my shit, Ray? I will make an investigation check.
Roll me an investigation check.
Ooh, that's a natural 16 for a dirty 20. I'm back in the game.
You go to where your rations were, and you check to see if there's any evidence of return or anything left over. And you go back to the rations. 6 rations were in maximum capacity, and 6 rations remain back from whence they came. Despite the fact that you had how many, Isaiah?
6?
You ate all 6?
Oh, I thought you said how many did you have? As in, like,
Yeah.
total.
How many did you decide to eat from this?
No, I would have
outpost?
one. No, I'm not. It's not buffet time.
My God.
Hey, don't shame me. I'm a hungry man. I'm a grown boy.
That's been a long time. But you look, all 6 rations have returned. Pulling one open, it's full.
I don't trust it. Can I detect fingerprints?
You look, and a lot of this stuff is covered in sand. It's not a sealed outpost by any means. The winds are far more powerful than any type of construction besides the Black Pyramids that Jabaxi can create. And the sand is completely covering them. Looking back down and around, investigating, you look away for just a moment. And from where the rations you left, they have returned again. Covered in sand, lightly, and dust.
Can I do an Arcana check?
Roll me an Arcana check.
That is a 10 for a 14.
You're spitballing it. It's debatable. Your reach in the realm of spirits and the afterlife has limited effect upon the material realm.
Interesting. Spooky. I think I will. I'll keep at a glance. Like, I want to ensure that there's not like creatures in here. Like, I don't want a little, some the equivalent of a afterlife raccoon just around taking shit and stealing it. So I'll like keep an eye out for that. But I am still on watch, keeping an eye on the green light, making sure it doesn't come closer, or jackals. So that's what I will continue doing.
The rest of your watch goes by rather uneventful. You do find that your footprints also disappear on the inside, off of the carpet on the actual cement ground inside of the outpost. They seem to disappear after you move your sight from them. But if you look closely enough, you feel like you see the small evidence of reclamation into what seems to be the proper way, reflected from the material. Your watch ends, and Hatanzi awakens, relieving one level of exhaustion. She no longer has disadvantage on attack rolls or saving throws.
Well, that's a win.
But her speed is still halved, and she still has disadvantage on ability checks, as she did have a level of exhaustion before you even met her.
Oh, wow. Okay. Um, Careless me. Then in that case, I'll take my rest and allow her to take watch.
She will go to the roof of the small stronghold to take her watch. Well,
Okay.
her listen.
And does her watch go well?
Well, Isaiah, that's a good question.
Hmm.
You awaken, Isaiah, and something's different. The door is open. You hear Hatanzi upstairs, but you feel like you hear the soft sounds of footsteps rustling, the busy movements of soldiers moving throughout the stronghold, but not visible. You hear the clanking of armor and of heavy armaments being used for something, either sparring or training, but it's almost like a distant echo.
Okay, so this is not something that's actually happening outside that I can see.
No, you feel it within the hut that you are in right around you. But you see nothing, but you hear something distantly. Almost like it's underwater.
I will go up to Hatanzi and speak to her. And Hatanzi, did you notice anything on your watch, or did everything go as expected? Nothing out of the ordinary?
Isaiah, during my watch, I heard the sound of serpents upon the sand, come and gone, and laughter. Other than that, its source was unknown.
Can I make an insight check to see if she's hallucinating?
Roll me an insight check.
Ooh! Natural 3 for an 8.
She seems rather lucid,
Okay.
maybe tired, but not, I should say, an elf can't look tired with bags under the eyes and that, but their body can appear to be weary.
I will.
While her rest is short, you know.
Yeah. Yep. No, I think I'll start digging deeper in this outpost, and I will encourage Hatanzi to take, you know, another rest, a meditation of sorts, go into her trance-like state, and um, again try to get her back into some, maybe not tip-top shape, but in better shape.
Okay. You go to a lower level of the structure. One that you had no reason to go into other than for a brief moment in time to secure it. Isaiah, when you were down here before, there was a certain level of rations upon the walls, canteens, clay canteens, and other forms of sustenance, bedrolls. Things have been moved around. And
Interesting.
the light echoing of conversation is upon the air, almost. It's like you catch syllables, which sounds like chanting.
Is this another one of those? Another one of those? No. Does it seem like this is a soft point in between the barrier between the duat and the material realm, and that's what I'm catching on to is like echoes of the material realm, kind of quote unquote leaking through the duat.
Not necessarily. It almost seems like there is a connection, less so than a breach. This outpost, as you look around and you felt before, has the presence of a god, but not like the physical body of one itself, more like the worship of one. You
Can,
feel like the worship that's happening on the material plane is giving purview to what is happening there and giving you the ability to see it or possibly feel it here to the smallest degree.
can I make an Arcana check to see what god it is, and maybe if it has any relation to the green light that I saw on the horizon?
Yes, you may roll Arcana or Religion.
Oh, it makes
I
me.
will say that Religion would be better.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Even though Arcana is better, I will roll for religion. It is a natural 20.
Natural 20. Isaiah, you come down here, and as you walk into the middle of the room itself, this basement, this cellar, your divine sense is almost triggered on its own. This is not a god you've ever felt before in your life. It is benevolent and loving, and you see no shrine, which is the confusing part.
Mm.
You see no shrine, you feel the worship for this god, but you do hear prayers to it. With a natural 20, the small amount of prayer that you hear that gives way is a name that you've only heard mentioned once, and that name is Neath.
Nief.
Neith. Neath.
Oh. Um.
It's almost a plea.
Okay. Okay. Then can I hear what the pleas are?
The sense that you get is that these prayers are being placed out there, and this potential godly energy is not being received by the deity itself. I'm giving you that because it's a natural 20. You cannot hear the exact prayers.
Okay.
You hear the terms Weaver, Mother, Look upon them, and Neath. But your limited history of Neath doesn't give you enough to know why they're being prayed to, what the prayer entails. You do get the feeling, though, that this person is pleading and is almost desperate. It is a very strong form of prayer.
Um. Okay. Then, in that case, can I see if there's a way to navigate um this connection between the Duat and the material realm, or is this something where it's a kind of one-way trip?
I will say with a natural 20 religion check, I would like you to burn me a divine sense.
I'm gonna burn it to the ground.
Because now it's so overwhelming that you cannot hold it back.
Yeah, I'm shocked that I didn't do that earlier. So kind of dumb on my part, but we're here now.
You burn a divine sense. Where do you want to use it?
Probably on
What part of this?
probably the lowest level
The
of the
lowest level?
structure.
As you burn a divine sense, Isaiah, you are propelled visually into the material realm. Looking down here, you see what seems to be an older Medjai. She is holding what seems to be a spider-like figure in her hand as she prays upon an altar down below this stronghold, begging Neath, the Weaver, to save her children. You catch her in a moment of vulnerability that is very, what would be, say, in the military, unbecoming of a superior officer.
It's awkward.
It's awkward. She's alone, and alone for a reason. Upstairs, now that you can see into the material realm, you hear her, what seems to be soldiers, having conversation, being very loud about it, so she knows that her moment of vulnerability is safe for the time being. It's not long before she collects herself. Unarmed as she is, she hides her figurine down within this stronghold, behind a brick, to the east.
Can I find that brick where I am in the duet?
You can. You
Oh.
pull the same brick out from the side of the duat, and this small wooden figurine is available to you.
Can I make an insight or arcana or religion check to see if I can predict what would happen if I were to take it?
It is a dangerous thing to touch another god's form of worship in the material realm. You know that, well, it's commonplace to curse, uh, and, say, in the form of, God damn it, to, your friends and your homies when you stub your toe, or,
Who put that Lego there?
yeah, who put that Lego there? Damn the Swedes, or whoever made those. uh, and, essentially call a curse upon something. Not necessarily to actually do so. It's just for the sake of doing so. It's commonplace. Out in the open, away from any form of worship. As to do so in the house of a god, they would hear it. It would be felt, and you would know that they feel it. Within miles of these places of worship, depending on how strong this god is, they can be aware of all things within limitation.
Well, it seems like Neith is a helicopter parent, so no, I'm kidding.
You do have the degree that Neith is being worshipped, does hold the status of a deity, but seems to be not quite there anymore. If you grab this figurine, she will be aware.
Then in that case, I will kind of like. I will grab it and turn it around. Like I'll manipulate it, keep it in its same spot. I'll ultimately set it back down, but I will manipulate it to reorient it and then set it back down. I won't like put it in a different spot completely.
I will say, as you pick it up, it is facing you from the direction which she placed it inside of.
Yep.
You turn it around, and when you turn it around, it is the figurine of a humanoid-looking woman. Obviously, there's limitations in what you can carve. Her eyes seem to have lines like tears going down. And on the other side is a lower body of what seems to be a spider. There is a tiny bit of what seems to be light blue divine web exuding itself from the back of the spider and penetrating the wall of this basement, going in the direction of the east. That is made notice to you without an investigation check as you turn it around.
The line is going to the east.
Through the wall, under the ground.
Can I speculate that the line is connected to Neith in that direction?
You can speculate that. You will also speculate that you came kind of from that direction to make it to this outpost.
Interesting. Yeah, I will set it back down and hope that is the equivalent of pushing on Neith's Ring doorbell.
You set it back down with no trouble.
And then I will return upstairs to finish my watch. Watch out.
You
for
return
the green
upstairs.
Light. Yeah.
Yep, you return upstairs. Upstairs. It is day. You see what seems to be a lizard folk Medjai sleeping on a bunk, the same exact bunk that you see Hatanzi sleeping on, almost in the same position, if not for different anatomy. Another bunk is occupied by what seems to be an Aarakocra, a male. Toucan, handsome, handsome,
What a stud. What's his
has
name?
removed his armor. Has removed his armor. The lizard folk doesn't need flashy armor as they have natural armor, but he does have what seems to be like a show breastplate to, get him into the Medjai uniform. The toucan, as he's sleeping there, Isaiah, using this divine sense that has lasted for a time, out of his mouth exudes a stream,
A Fruit
almost
Loops.
a Fruit Loops. Yes, it is actually quite intoxicating, and it looks almost like a web itself. And Isaiah, as you see it, it makes you realize that the lizard folk is also exuding a similar one.
I start furiously jerking off as I notice that everyone else is getting their web out. And I'm frustrated. No, I'm kidding. Based on the doll, the Toucan Sam and the lizard folk, can I conclude that these are... Let me ask, do I notice that I have a web as well?
You do not have one exuding from your mouth, as far as you know.
What about Hatanzi?
Hatanzi does not.
So what can I conclude between the doll and these two strangers that they have the web coming out?
It's an interesting thing, because you're existing in the spirit realm, but you're looking into the material. So you're kind of staggered by your perception at this moment in time. And as you close your eyes, you still see the web. The superior officer walks in. You see her quietly navigating her stronghold as to not wake her lackeys. You don't see a web from her. But then you notice something else.
What do I know?
You hear the surface level thoughts of these two sleepers, these dreamers. And they get louder and louder the closer you get.
I'll put my I'll go ear to like dome on Toucan Sam, see what he's thinking.
You go ear to dome on Toucan Sam.
Yep.
Just like that, Isaiah. In a snap, as you're hearing his surface level thoughts about how he cannot wait to get back to Pharos so he can have a hot meal that isn't cooked by himself. Your perception changes altogether. You're laying on a bunk and you can't see forward. You can only see from two different directions as you step into the body of the Aarakocra.
Oh, jeez.
And you are fully in the material realm.
Oh, goodness.
And you realize that the moment you are there and you feel your superior officer navigating through this room, trying to be as quiet as possible, scouring over these maps, and you have stepped into the body.
Can I hop out of the body?
You want to hop out of the body?
I will attempt to hop out of the body.
You are out of the body and back into the material realm, or the spirit realm. But your divine sense, gone. You see Hatanzi, and you hear echoes of confusion.
Um. You're putting me in a conundrum, Ray. I'm really.
I like to think of them as opportunities. That's what I
Yeah,
like.
yeah. You're giving me an oyster, and I don't know what to do with the world that is this oyster. You know.
You can do whatever you want, my
Uh,
guy. Whatever you want.
I will. Can I give? I'm gonna activate Divine Sense again,
Okay. You
and
burn another divine sense.
I assume when I see the Divine Sense, I'm gonna see the lines again, right?
The toucan is fully awake.
Yes.
He looks completely confused, but he sees his sleeping compatriot, he sees his commanding officer, and just kind of shakes his head and goes back to sleep.
Can I sense his surface thoughts in relation to what he just experienced?
He felt like
Violated.
was quite was I sleepwalking? No, not sleep flying.
Uh,
That's something interesting.
now that's dope. Now that's dope. Okay, and I see the webs again, right?
If you wait a modicum of time, yeah, he will be fast asleep again.
Then
He's not. He's a soldier. He doesn't waste time.
yeah. Then in that case, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try something here, and you might not like it, but I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna go back downstairs, and I'm gonna see if I can go inside the doll.
Oh God, I was not expecting this, and I'm gonna give you a full. I'm gonna give you a full truth that I did not expect you to do that by any means. By no means. The moment you divine sense and you go downstairs, you remove the brick, pulling it free inside of this fucking place. You pull that doll out. Do you place it on the ground
I
or do
would.
you hold it in hand?
I would. I'll hold it in hand.
Okay. You, as you try to enter this fucking doll, the moment you do that, you feel the eyes of Horus, or the eye of Horus, the eyes of Set, the eyes of a great serpent and bird currently pitched in battle upon a boat flying in the sky to the far north look at you before they can even say stop. You are propelled within the doll and you find yourself in a completely different place that is not material. It is not reflective of the material plane at all. You are floating. You are outside of Salia and Terra Grigia itself. And you see Neath the Weaver dead. This large, encompassing deity, and you feel the last things she felt. You feel the origin of Jabexi, woven from her silk, the mother of Ra, Apophis, Kepri, Sobek, many of the gods, pleading with the creator of Terra Grigia to place her land in Salia for salvation, for safety. And you stand outside of any realm before her corpse.
Can I do an investigation check to see how she died?
It's a difficult thing to investigate the corpse of what would be a creator. If she were a god, her corpse would be floating in the astral sea. She is not that. She's higher than that.
So when you say corpse, it's not really, it's not a corpse in the traditional sense.
It is and it isn't. It is confusing because for a deity to die, those prayers can still bring it back to life if they gain enough. This creature, this being, was seemingly struck down and provided no resistance. She does not seek adversity. She does not she doesn't want much. But you can tell through the subtle machinations and emotions that she might still feel. She is so heartbroken over Set, Osiris, and Horus's conflict. And you get the feeling that a price was paid in order for their conflict to continue, and she paid it.
Oh. Shit. Then does she have anything on her quote unquote person?
As you try to take in the concept of her in general, you find yourself dwarfed by her on a scale of 1,000,000 to 1, and then suddenly you're exactly the same size as her. You feel Jabexi looking down upon Terra Grigia. You see a planet with coiled serpents around it, separating the land. You see Eastvilgen scarred by the battle that took place between Set and Horus. You see Salia and its tiny god's influence upon it. A frost to the north and a scorching presence to the south. Neath had a bow. The bow has been shattered. She has no arrows in her quiver. And I will say to her side is a Kopesh. The blade is pure white. About the size of a short sword, you would say. That is the most apparent thing upon her.
Can I take the Kopesh?
You grab the Kopesh, you have it.
Um, if I were to try to lay on hands, does it have any effect on her?
How much do you want to give?
Up my entire pool of 45.
45? Okay. I'm going to say roll me a charisma check. I want to say before you make that roll, before the die leaves your hand, what does Isaiah want to do?
Um, I think he still suffers or excels from the same complex of when a problem is placed in front of him, he feels compelled to seek resolution or to fix it because he does not want to risk breaking his oath. So when he sees the mother of gods, the creator, dead, and the empty void that is nothingness that exists outside of everything, he thinks that this is a opportunity that no one else would really ever get. Even for the gods, it's probably a very limited / scarce opportunity for them, and therefore, before he would attempt to leave, he would attempt to fix it, and bring her back to life.
So you do want a full resurrection.
Yeah.
All right.
And now I shall roll. The roll of rolls.
Give me a flat charisma check.
So I add my modifier to it.
Yep, you add your modifier to it.
Holy shit.
No.
It is.
No, it's not.
A natural 19 for a 22.
Oh my god, that's still... Yeah. As you proceed to lay on hands, which god do you feel like your power pulls from? Like, every being pulls from the arcane concept of the weave. It's just that the gods essentially possess so much of it. What god do you think Isaiah would pull from?
I think in this particular instance, he would think outside of his condition in terms of Horus's and Osiris's agreement. It wouldn't be anything of like, I think with the knowledge especially of like Neith's death or her suffering being due to a large part of the conflict of the gods that are currently ongoing, with Set, Horus, and Osiris, he would think upon that observation and that knowledge and his very recent experience of going to where he was killed, and what he had saw in each cardinal direction, and he would think that the only person who was optimistic about him but also exists outside of the conflict at hand in large part is Iset. So I believe he would pull from her.
You pull from Eset,
at this time.
placing your hands upon Neath. There's no visible wound that you can tell from her. You see what seems to be her essence almost deatomizing from her in this corpse. And as you pull your essence, you feel her coming back to form. That distant echo of a consciousness that existed in its motherly way is returning. Isaiah, in a way, you have done what you have set out to do. For someone else, in fact, you've reclaimed something that Jabaxi didn't know it lost, but few of the gods did. And you pull upon Eset's healing touch, and when you place your own lay on hands in, Eset cannot stop giving you magic. And it goes from 45 points of healing to 450 points of healing to a non-stop number
That's
until
hard.
this being opens its eyes. And gasps. Pardon me.
I'll be shocked. I'll be like, oh man, what a, yeah, wow. Um,
This being looks down at you. Suddenly, you are not as small as you once were, but she almost instinctually enlarged and stands about 10 feet tall in your comparison. Who are you?
Neath, I am the servant of Osiris and Horus, Isaiah. I come to you, admittedly, by happen chance. I was alive once, but was killed and brought back, essentially. And the long and short of it is that I banished myself to the Duat and started my journey back to home as I have left Jabaxi, and in doing so have seemingly encountered a set of events and circumstances that led me to you when I had originally intended to make my way back to Pharos. And in seeing you in your condition, I noticed that there is a litany of prayers being made to you that are going unanswered. And while it is not my place to answer your prayers on your behalf or stop your worshippers from praying to you, I did take it upon myself to see if I could bring you back in some way, such that you could be able to answer those prayers and assist the gods that are in and not in conflict at this current time.
Neath is quiet for a moment. She begins to take a knee and holds a hand out to you. The feeling you get is she wishes you to place yours within hers.
I will set my hand in hers.
You do that. Feeling returns to your body. You feel her hand in yours and yours in hers. And she whispers, Solana. Your mother is Solana. She does not meet your gaze, and her form changes. She dresses herself in what seems to be the appropriate attire of a common woman of Jabaxi. A modest robe, sandals, a small circlet headpiece, not too gaudy, and iron bangles upon her wrists. Her complexion gains light and darkens. You don't see her as a translucent figure any longer. She takes full solid form. And you stand outside your house, Isaiah, with Neith holding her hand. And your stomach drops. You can't believe it's still here, almost. People are rushing around, going about their business. And you hear people talking inside. What does Isaiah do?
Can I... Do I know if I'm in the material realm or the duat?
This feels material to you.
Oh,
Neith grips
shit.
your hand. She's holding your left hand.
But Neith doesn't look like my mom. She looks like a common woman.
She looks like a common woman.
Okay. Holding Neith's hand, I would give it a little like tight squeeze because I feel this little thing called anxiety and scared shitless, and I would kind of get clammy, and I would proceed to walk into the house.
Neith walks as far as the doorway. And you suddenly realize the breeze reminds you that you are unclothed besides your pants. The sand beneath your feet you can feel again, and the heat is upon you. But you make it to the door.
I'm gonna
It is shut.
I'm gonna steal a basic tunic from like a clothesline nearby.
Easily enough done. You get essentially a brownish red tunic.
Okay. I will put on this brownish red tunic, and if I see a homeless man, I take his sandals. No, I'm kidding.
The moment you take the tunic itself, and you realize Neith is not letting go of your hand, you almost go to ask her, and then you look down. You're wearing it.
Oh, Oh, Neath, where were you when I was shopping at Kohl's?
Convenience, yes.
um,
Very
okay.
convenient.
Does Neath have Kohl's cash? Anyways.
Yes.
God bless. God bless. Pun
It's
not intended.
almost expired. Almost.
Oh God! You've been gone for
We
too
need to go.
long.
We can't go, actually. We gotta go to Kohl's.
We're not going in this house. Get in the
Yeah.
car.
We're going to Kohl's.
Oh man. Okay. Yes, I will proceed to. I will ask Neath. I'll be like, "Will you be coming in there with me?"
Every step of the way.
Okay. And I will do the on the door.
You knock. You hear laughter, communication, and someone say, "I will open the door. Don't worry, Mom. Hold on." As a woman opens the door. She's older. Gabriella opens, and you realize it's been longer than you thought. Gabriella opens the door. She looks tired, a little heavier set, and she's holding a baby in one hand.
Oh my God.
And she opens the door and looks you dead in the eye. And then she looks left and right. And she opens the door wider. And she steps right through you.
Oh, my
And
heart.
you hear your mother's voice. "Gabby, why are you at the door?" And your sister says, "Mother, I could have sworn I heard a knock. I'm just tired, Mom. I apologize. How about dinner?" And your mother says, "You're staying again, I imagine. I had the idea that it would be good for me not to travel so late. Especially since I have another mouth to feed." And you see your mother, slight gray in her hair,
Oh,
youthful still, well put together, but you don't know if it's because of the assistance of Neath. You see that despite being well put together, she is borderline frantic and exhausted from something. She proceeds to make a lamb dinner for your sister and your new niece. This child is not more than, you would assume, a week old.
Wow.
And between its cries, it makes eye contact with you. And you'll see Neath wiggle her finger and make points, blow raspberries at it, and the baby laughs.
oh, you son of a bitch. Oh. Ah.
Can I?
Neath pulls you into the house.
I'm going in the house, and
Yep.
I will see if there's anyone else in the house.
You look around. You don't see anybody in the house. She will let you take her on a tour. You get to your room, Isaiah. It is rather well put together and more organized than you left it. But there is changes. There is a very vast number of scrolls, texts, correspondence between your mother and individuals upon your bed. A number of unfinished scrolls and correspondence yet to be sent out. It doesn't take you long looking that she's trying to find any trace of you. One scroll catches your eye from Ezekiel the Lesser, as you knew him.
My boy.
As you knew him, he speaks from a scroll sent from Salia's capital in Colette, saying that he has met Isaiah of Jabaxi, and he travels with an adventuring party known as the Chosen Few.
Badass.
He is alive and well, and he is doing good, both in the name of Jabaxi and Salia, wherever he goes.
Can I ascertain that this was sent way before that I yeeted myself into the afterlife?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This is an old scroll.
Okay.
A more recent scroll comes from a Jabaxi ambassador in Salia currently, saying that Ezekiel the Lesser is now deceased.
Oh.
The reason why is ascertained to be a terrorist attack has claimed his life in an explosion. The royal palace was attacked in Salia, in Colette, due to a local conflict that does not involve Jabaxi. Even though his position was unknown to the government of Jabaxi, his presence is sorely lost, and his son still remains as the only Medjai on the Salian front lines in the war against the Gnolls. He will be returning soon. Your mother... That is the last correspondence that involves Ezekiel the Lesser.
Then is my dad here? Do I see Fina here? Do I see Gabriella's husband here?
You don't get the presence of another individual in this house. However, you do find very few letters of correspondence between a man that your mother has reached out to recently. He is a Jabaxi wizard known as Ampui. And you immediately check that name, as you heard it a few times. That is Kafiri's father.
Oh, man.
She shares the correspondence that you were alive. And that there is a possibility that Kafiri could also be in Salia, as your bodies were not discovered amongst the fallen. The hope is that through your mother and Ampui's efforts, you can find a way to get correspondence between you and them, and Kafiri and them. But they have had no luck. The proposal of a meeting was made, and it seems like, based off of the Jabaxi calendar and the date, I assume your mother would have an active calendar. She seems like that kind of a person, and it's a very mom thing to do. That their first meeting happened about 3 days ago.
Oh man.
Other than that, you can't move this correspondence. You cannot pick it up and have it last long enough for you to actually see any more.
Um, I would look over to Neath and I would say, "What? What did we hope to accomplish here? Because this is not to be rude, and I know that you know, you are you are Neath, but it does seem kind of it's a little hurtful to take me to, my family in the material realm and just kind of dangle them just out of my reach. It's you're opening a lot out of me right now, and it's killing me that I can't see them. Killing me in like the euphemistic sense. I know what almost dying is like, so I don't want to say that they're the same.
You look at her and you say that. She almost isn't there in the eyes. It's almost blank. Like an ambient consciousness for a second. And then she comes to and says, Isaiah, my boy, I only meant to. And before she can even finish her statement, you hear someone approach you from behind. And your mother enters your room.
Oh.
And she walks in, almost like she forgot what she was about to do, like she had deja vu.
Yeah.
She walks in, walks through Neath, walks through you, almost like she's searching for something. You hear your sister thank your mother for dinner, proceed to go into her old room, and rest up for the night. Put the baby to sleep, we'll say. Your mother gets a look of determination on her face. She digs underneath your bed and pulls out her mirror.
Oh man. Okay.
And she takes it, wraps it in cloth, gets her cloak, dagger, and as soon as she gets her chance, she's out the door. Neath looks at you almost apologetically. I wanted you to know that your mother was safe. I did not know how far she would have gone. But her behavior is signature of a good mother. She searches for you, and you must make the journey to Pharos.
And I would kind of just sigh and say, yes, my mother is a great woman, and I love my sisters very dearly, and I do miss my father so much, but me not seeing them was a self imposed resolution I made once I came back from, let's say, my discussion with Horus and Osiris. Just for the simple fact that I could not live with the shame, the guilt, the feeling of letting my my dad down to be the son that they couldn't be proud of. And so I decided that I would rather be just presumed dead than them knowing that I'm just kind of out here as a exalted one. Uh, but once I make things right, once I feel that I've done right by not only the gods but my people, and I feel adjudicated in their eyes, then I will I will rejoin my family in a way where I can feel proud that I did my best to make everything right from every for everyone involved, for every party. And by that I mean the gods and my people. Um, so I do thank you, but yes, I admittedly was not ready for this.
Roll me a perception check.
I'm gonna roll a perception check. That is a natural 13 for a 14.
14. As you're explaining this to Neith, motion fades from her face, and it's almost like she begins to deteriorate again. A small blending between that realm you were once in and the material. You feel something, Isaiah. You feel something from your other sister's room. Fina. Her door is shut, and Neith stops moving before you can get to the room. What do you do?
I would ask Neith, Neith, are you okay?
No response, just a blank look.
I would ask her, do we need to leave? Or are we, I thought we brought you back like you're okay. You have to be, right?
You hear from Fina's room. Please, please, Horace. Please let my brother be safe. No mother should lose their child. And as you look back at Neith, you see that she's gone, and a web connects to your hand from whence you were, leading outside of the house through the walls. Your back is to the door of your sister's room. What do you do?
I will open the door to Fina's room.
In a flash, Isaiah, as you do so, a red light appears, and you hear Neith's voice. Isaiah! And you feel a grip upon your throat. You stupid bastard! As a jackal-headed man pulls you from the realm you were in, slams you back first in a dark crypt into a pile of sand. You meddle with things you have no understanding of. The grip upon your throat is the strongest you have ever felt. Surrounding you in the middle of the Duat, underground, you stand before the sons of Set. One hand is on your throat, and the other hand is reaching for the Kopesh as he snarls and smiles. And we're going to leave it off there.
Oh, shit.
We'll roll initiative next time. Or would you like to roll initiative now?
Ray, my AC is 12.
Yeah, it is.
For the love of God. No, we'll do a until next time. Yeah. Man. Man, oh man. Give me a break, Ray. Give me a break. Oh. I'm really shocked that you didn't see the me going into the doll coming.
No, I didn't.
Just
'Cause
because. No, go ahead.
it's just a tiny. It's like a mini, basically. It was like a tiny figurine. I'm like, oh, he's not going to do that.
Yeah, see, in my mind, I'm like, okay, so there's two randos or the doll that have the web. And I'm like, what's the most interesting? The randos or an artifact that's connected to a god that's seemingly not answering? And I'm like, oh, I guess the rules of fuck around and find out would be like, oh, let's see what's on the other end of this string that's lead to the god that doesn't answer versus the two kind of frat bros that are deployed in some bunk beds, and that's hyperbole, but no, it was like I was struggling. I'm like it felt like a puzzle. I'm like I'm trying to interpolate like what you are trying to guide me to do, but also like still do it on my own. And I'm like, maybe he wants me to go back to the mortal realm or the material realm through these echoes that are out here instead of making the journey through the Duat to Pharos. But then I was conflicted because I'm like, well, I don't really want to leave because there's no way I can navigate that space with Hatanzi. So it was like, okay, how do I progress this but still be with Hatanzi and still make this happen? And once I found out that I could hop back out of the divine sense, kind of like body possession stuff, I'm like, okay, then I can just check in on this Neith doll, see what happens, and then finish the watch and then continue the walk. Like, that was the game plan. I was just going to continue my walk. and then we just get this whole we get what we call an excursion.
Yes, we do. I should have accentuated the fact that the web that exudes itself from the sleeping figures is almost free flowing and acting almost like a gas in the wind that is visible, whereas the one that was on the figurine was taut and tight and had no give to it at all, but it still operated the same way. It was a link. Maybe not necessarily to Neath in the sense of the two individuals, but since you are members of Jabaxi, uh, you're tied to Neath in a way no matter what.
Okay. Yeah, see,
You just took the scenic route. You took the absolute direct, actually the direct route.
yeah, I was like, at first I was thinking that I'm like, okay, so if Hatanzi doesn't have it, that makes sense. But then the sergeant, commander on duty, also did not have it, and I was just assuming that the leader was just kind of also a Jabaxian. So if they didn't have that, special web, and they're from Jabaxi, I'm like, oh well, maybe it's not that. And the fact that the web was on the doll, I'm like, okay, so maybe it has nothing to do with whether you're from Jabaxi, but whether if you have a special link or bondage to a god. And then yeah, that's when I picked the doll, because I'm like, okay, the doll out of all these links seems the most compelling. And so
I will
it
definitely
was.
say, yeah, the doll or the effigy is definitely has a link because she places her worship inside of it. However, Hatanti you couldn't necessarily tell because she is in the spirit realm with you in the duat, and the commander or captain, whatever you want to call her, is currently awake as well.
Oh, so they have to be asleep. Okay.
And when the toucan woke up, his web did disappear.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, see, I wasn't super. I knew that. I picked up on the okay. If they're awake, they won't have the web. So,
Yes.
but prior to that moment, I guess I didn't really make that connection, and I still failed to make. I failed to make that connection in relation to the leader, but I understood the connection when you were talking about the toucan when he went back to sleep. But yeah, nonetheless, that was really exciting and a little nerve wracking. Don't do that again, Ray. All right, or I will end
too
this. I'll just
Okay.
call in. I'll just call in next Sunday and be like, "Well,
Damn.
I'm too scared."
Damn, that's crazy. Knock knock. Knock knock.
Roll the dice. Roll the dice.
You just get a knock knock and then a metal die goes through your window.
What did it land on?
You have to tell me. Stream it. Hey, can you start streaming real quick? Why?
I put a camera in your room.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no. For a second, I'm like, am I gonna become? Because I didn't know what to expect with the doll thing. But when you initially said I went into the doll, I was like, oh my gosh, am I actually gonna become the D&D equivalent of Chucky?
Oh God. I mean, the whole idea of the possession thing was part of my plan in the first place. With you coming across Neith's body, that was supposed to happen so far down the line.
Yeah, for an absolute curveball, I was once we were in Isaiah's house. That's when I just understood that you're kind of built different in preparation. Just because I was like, okay, so he told me that he did not expect me to go into the Neath doll, and the Neath doll led me to Neath, which led me to my house, and I'm like, man, the fact that he could take something that unexpected and still wrap it around back in a seamless way and have it kind of make sense. I'm like, man, even when he's caught off guard, he has something there. And so
Been
Hats.
watching a lot of Dimension 20. Brendan Lee Mulligan, he's the best. You know, improvise, improvise, improvise.
Yeah, no, hats. I mean, hats off to you. If I was DMing that situation, I'd be like, you're in the doll, and now you're walking around on your little legs.
Oh,
What do you do
yeah,
now?
that's wild. I want you to say this. This is the analogy of what you just did. You're at the sleepover. You're at a sleepover in Jabaxi with the Egyptian gods. Set and Horus are having a fucking vicious pillow fight. Set put batteries in his pillowcase. I want you to know that. And Horus is doing the the honorable thing. Uh, and he's just using a regular pillow. You walked into mom's room as the kid, the random kid at Set and Horace's house sleepover, and you woke mom up, and they're both upset.
They're like, why the fuck did you wake up, mom? We were having a good
Seriously,
time.
seriously, you are. It's 10 p.m. You're supposed to be in bed by 9. You're gonna stay up, God forbid, till 10:30. God forbid, you're
I
tiny kids, and she took you with open arms because you're not her kid.
I even got you set to help me wake up, mom. We both ran in there. Could you give me a juice box out of the fridge?
Yeah, seriously, you really did. And Set is so mad. Horace is gonna be mad too. But you know what? It's not your problem right now. You have a different problem.
I do have a very different problem. A 12 AC with a pissed off pillow fighter.
It's recess. You went to go grab the ball that went behind the building, and the gym teacher is not looking. So that's what's about to happen.
It's like when the school bully is up to kick for kickball and you're the pitcher
Yeah.
and you suck at pitching. You roll it at like 12 miles per hour, giving him
Yeah.
the perfect lineup to hit you square in the forehead.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's an accident, and Set has sent the third graders, no, the fifth graders. You're a third grader to kick your ass.
I can imagine. Oh man, just to even put it in different context is like you're set. You've been having an eternity long pillow
Oh yeah,
fight.
oh yeah.
This guy that you thought was off the board, off the table. You invited him to the sleepover. He showed up for a bit, and he left because he felt sick.
Yep, I threw up.
He decides randomly at 3 a.m. I'm coming back over to the sleepover. And within the first 10 minutes, 5 minutes of showing up to the party and about to hang out, he's like, I'm going to go hang out with mom.
Yep.
And it's like, oh man, he's just within a week comes back on the radar and wakes up Neath. Yeah, that's it's like I don't even know how you roleplay an evil god in that scenario because at that point I would just be so overwhelmed with the feeling of like I'm being trolled right now and I can't even take this seriously because of how much this is a crock of bullshit.
It's funny because like it's so funny because the family dynamic of gods is it's incredibly childish. If you just look into like the Egyptian gods and the Greek gods, it's kind of stupid, but it's what human beings know. It's very grounding. You Set is a guy who's willing to stoop to any low. He's willing to go by any means. The guy fucking chopped off Osiris's dick and threw it. He threw it away. He made sure that nobody could find it. That's how fucking fucked up this guy is. And he's willing to pull any dirty trick. He's willing to turn anybody. He's willing to lie to anybody. He is the god of lies. And he will make it seem like you can lie to him just so that he can get an advantage upon you. He'll take a loss for it. He doesn't care. He'll take a loss for it. He's willing to go to any means to gain an advantage. And the first time that Horus decides to try something new, maybe even from being inspired by Set to undermine him, he kind of makes you And Set just kind of goes, "What the fuck, dude?" to Horus. Literally just says, "What is this shit? Are you kidding me?" And he just complains.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And mind you, you're not controlled by Horus. You have full free reign. You can do what you want.
Oh shit. Just for I can't cast 2 spells in a single turn, right?
No.
Even if it's an action, bonus action.
No.
Damn it. Okay. All right.
I know they allow that, I think, with haste. If you are under the conditions of the haste spell, you can, perform 2 actions, and I think sometimes people will let that go. But Matt Mercer let it go in his first Critical Role campaign, saying that you can cast 2 spells of the same kind, or 2 spells within 1 round or turn, as long as one spell is below like level 3 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Which is a fair rule. It's not bad.
It
It's
went
not bad.
well. It didn't break the game.
They didn't do it again because they wanted to change some rules. He's always fluctuating with rules between his campaigns, but I don't think it did break the game. It did make things, mind you. He's got to make his ridiculous encounters because we're all level 20, and he was playing with 8 people, so he's gotta do some crazy shit.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, no. It's we got quite a situation at I have quite a switch situation on my hands. I thought I was walking in a desert with my blind buddy to the capital. I was minding my business, some would say. And then I got myself into some shit. The shit I got myself in has decided to get into some shit with me. It's a mess, Ray. It's a mess. It's a beautiful mess, though. It's a
Man, you are gonna have a great time. I'll tell you what. We'll roll initiative first thing next time we play, and you are going to. Well, I'm going to make the item of that Kopesh in the game itself. I'm for the sake of it, I'm going to say Neath attuned you to it.
Okay. That'll help. But as soon as in a hypothetical scenario where he takes it from me, that would unattune it, correct?
No, attunement. I believe you. God, I can't remember how long it is in terms of rules for unattuning to things. It's not a simple instance.
Okay.
Let me see what the rules officially are. It just says the creature must unattune to an item to get a 4th item. I think I might need a new mouse pad. My mouse is acting up again.
You might need a new mouse.
Might need to unplug this shit and just see what's going on here. Let's see here. You do gain the non-magical benefits of a weapon, so if it's a plus weapon, I believe you technically get those, but for like the additional stuff, it's a little more difficult. I will say that when you were pulled through time and space, you are in an area you don't recognize. You are not in the outpost that you were in. You did not take damage from your initial strike, but I will say that Isaiah not only feels emotion, you feel everything now. You have reclaimed that as well.
That is good, but also terrifying because now I'm You got to play shook ones now in this battle against Set or whatever this is.
Uh, I will say at first when the fist grabbed you on the neck, it was Set
Kinky.
himself at first, and then as soon as you landed, it was the son of Set, one of the many sons of Set, that slammed you into the ground and is now reaching for the Kopesh to take it from you.
Okay.
Ah. I see. A creature's attunement ends if the creature no longer satisfies the prerequisite for attunement, if the item has been more than 100 feet away for at least 24 hours, if the creature dies, or if another creature attunes to the item. The creature can voluntarily end the attunement by spending another short rest focused on the item, unless the item is cursed. Then you're fucked.
Oh, man.
So those are the official rules. Got it.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
It does make sense. It does make sense. Which I remember the harsh circumstances of combat was that if a character goes down, loses all 3 death saves, and they get revivified, technically they should lose all their attunements to their items. But that is so heartbreakingly cruel that I've never seen anyone actually do that.
Yeah, that's different. And that, but to be fair, that is a very niche set of circumstances.
It is, but you know, in the case of a revivify, it's such a fast return from death that doesn't require you to, call upon the soul and, Matthew Mercer style. Mind you, none of the mechanics in D&D require you to do that. Literally, it just happens, which is kind of dumb. But yeah, man, like that's tough, man. It's tough. I want to see a DM, explain why they've done. Just like, oh, you son of a bitch.
Oh,
They
man.
can't win now.
Oh, well, Raymond, do you want to say goodbye to the listeners that decided to stick with us the 20 minutes past the end of the episode? Or,
I will.
I don't even know if this is an episode, but, this session.
It could use some editing. I will say that this was another good session. I feel like both sessions that we've had have been entertaining and enlightening.
We've been diving deep into the Isaiah Jabaxi Egyptian god lore, and for that, it's very exciting. It's very cool. Yeah, it's been raw, it's been fun, and I'm excited by the radical growth that is occurring. But yeah.
The player is meant to have impact, and so far, right now, you've had incredible impact in Jabaxi for sure. However, there will be consequences, and you'll see that to come.
Well, until then.
Until then,
GG's. What do the DMs say at the end of their episodes? Do they say anything? I'll see you next Thursday, but not next Thursday.
next
is it-
Thursday by Sunday. I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah. Is it Thursday, Sunday yet?